Hello, welcome to the Player Profile series. We've got Sean with me again.
We are the Fan Pub. It's good to be back, and Al has the script today, and he's going to ask me a question.
We're going to talk about elite running back, top
Yep.
5 pick overall.
Well, that's a good sign. Like that.
He's a
Yeah,
prolific
that's
touchdown scorer, prolific fantasy scorer.
good. Ezekiel Elliott?
No,
No.
David Johnson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, he has crept up a little bit. He didn't fall very far, David Johnson. I think he started off, when I was looking at ADP charts back in, back in January, we started looking at stuff. I think it was about running back 9, 10 at that point. And then he slowly crept up to where he is now 5. Given the talks about Melvin Gordon and Ezekiel Elliott were contract on the holdouts, it's kind of made sense that he moves up the board. The Griffin offense, what they're going to do and how David Johnson's going to get involved in that makes sense. And he only, even with a bad year, and it was a terrible year for David Johnson, he got 196 in standard scoring. So I kind of feel that's probably his flaw. Other than injury, that's his flaw.
I mean, the O-line couldn't be any worse.
It couldn't be worse. I mean, the poor bloke. I mean, there's a great stat actually doing the rounds where, how many times was he hit in the backfield and how far was he hit in the backfield? Actually, one of the worst stats I've seen. 2.1 feet behind the line of scrimmage, he was often being hit and still turned them into something.
And that's a sign of a good
that
player.
tells you everything you need to know about how good he is. I mean, is he the number 1 or 2 for this year, or even the 3? I don't think so. And I don't think he's going to give you that. And it's not because the talent isn't there and the guy's not done it before. We know he has, and we recommended it. We predicted it he would some years ago.
Yeah, the year you nailed it that year.
We predicted he when he was at that year. He was ADP, whatever it was. He was way out the charts, and we said he'd be number 1 that year, and he did. Now I think he will deliver fantastic numbers for this year. He's fairly safe. I mean, if your floor's 196, I mean, what's not to like? I mean, I like players that the worst you can get is kind of this is your baseline, and you're thinking, well, that was a terrible year. What could he do? What more could the bloke do?
He was running into brick walls.
So I actually love what David Johnson can bring you for this year. So there's an argument to be made for where will he finish, and I don't think it really matters because you're talking about an elite running back. If I'm at 5, in fact, even I'd make a case. So I could be sitting at 4, and I might take David Johnson because I like him that much. If he slipped to 6 or 7, it's just not even that difficult.
How will Carla Murray? Because we know he likes to run the ball as well. He's got speed.
Yeah.
Will that help David Johnson?
I think it massively helps him. I think the one thing we talked about Carla Murray, but the one thing that the real beneficiary of Carla Murray will be David Johnson, because when you're looking, if you're going to manoeuvre out of the pocket, you one of the first people you're going to look for is the guy in the flat. So who's coming with you, and you want to move the same way the running back's gone off. So if the running back's running off to the right, the quarterback really should roll that way. That doesn't mean that's what he'll do, because he's a quarterback and he's a little bit maverick. He's a bit like Doug Flutie, and I'm sorry to use that because most of you won't know Doug Flutie, but if you ever get a chance, watch the tape.
The oldies, isn't he?
Watch the tape and look at Kyler Murray, and you'll see a similarity when things break down, and the presence in the pocket are almost, as Doug Flutie said, and I'm sure this is the same for Kyler Murray, even I don't know what I was going to do. It just happened because he just had that gift. And that's the same with Kyler Murray. That's the highest compliment I can give him. So I think the big beneficiary have got to be David Johnson. David Johnson has always made a claim that
Kyler
he can
Murray,
get 1,000 yards, David Johnson, and 1,000 receiving yards. This is the year he could go close to that claim because he's capable. So
when he played with Rosen last year, when they rightly loaded the box because they say, well, Rosen, if you can beat us with your arm, do it.
Yeah.
Can they do that against Carla Murray?
Not at all. No.
It's a
different beast. You can't load the box against a quarterback. If you load the box and make one error, he's gone. He'll be gone. If you think the handoff is going, because he does the thing I love really well, which is 2 parts to it. He's got fantastic, Favre, Aaron Rodgers-esque play calling skills. So the ability to hard count, the ability to sell your cadence, as it's called in American football, the ability to make the defense react to that. He is probably one of the best I've seen coming in at it by a mile. Second thing is the shotgun snap, the little movement between both hands. So that it looks like you've handed it off, but you've actually put it in your other hand. His sell of that and his movement out of the pocket. You haven't got a clue where the ball is as the defense. You can't assume the quarterback's got it because you're going the wrong direction.
It's very interesting for me to watch you break down quarterback techniques because when you're talking about shotgun snaps and things like that, it really sort of adds added a dimension to it for a listener. And I'm a listener at this point, so I think it's really sort of good analysis that you can explain why he's going to be a good player and what his attributes are.
So
and
for David Johnson,
how it's hard for a defense.
This is massive because if a defender, what great NFL defenders do, which is their strength, is they start to read. If you've got tendencies, they read them. So as a quarterback, they start reading you. They start getting inside your head. They start to work out your snap counts. Once that happens, they're able to absolutely perfectly jump on the ball. They're almost off the line the moment that it's snapped, and they're able to say which way it's going.
Do you know what? Exactly what you said there. I was watching All or Nothing, which is on the Panthers this year.
Right.
Which is very good, by the way, even though we know how it turns out. But Luke Kuechly, he's watching film. He watches all the film because obviously he's the leader of the Panthers defense, and he's saying before it comes. I've seen this. Run to the right.
Well, you might notice. This is again.
And they as soon as the snap goes, they all run to the right. They all run.
And this is something again.
Absolutely brilliant.
Al will have to testify to this because it's just something that happens. You don't think about it when you're doing it, and it's something that creeps out because that's how enthusiastic and passionate you are. We've seen a few Super Bowls together, and there'll be times I'm going, "Oh God, that's going to be a short pass over the middle." You can see that coming. And you don't think you've just said that. You just say it without thinking, and it's a short pass over the middle, and people go. Start looking at you like, oh, okay, and that's a handoff here. He's moving to the left. And that's what happens, and that's what I was saying about reading the snaps. So, but he does this really well. That's a great gift, and the beneficiary is David Johnson. So for me, David Johnson is a very safe 5. I like him at 5. If anything happens to the top guys ahead, if Melvin Gordon isn't playing, that's not going to affect his number 5 rank. But Ezekiel Elliott's a holdout, then David Johnson can fill that gap in the top 4.
Well, news came out about Zeke last night saying he's going to turn up to camp now because he knows about the negative effects of holding out. So maybe there is hope for a.
I feel both the Cowboys and the Chargers will get this done for a number of reasons. I don't personally think it's going to be a big deal. It's easy to say, but as I say, unless I've got news, as I said previously in that video, well worth a watch. Obviously, I'm a bit more cautious, and the one player that elevates because of my caution is David Johnson. Because if I have a doubt, I pick him. I don't have a problem with him, and he is safe.
But don't elevate him above.
No, you don't have to.
4 would be the highest.
Four's the highest you need to go, unless there was a major problem, like a player went down or something, and then he jumps up into that spot. But he's as safe as it comes at 5. He's a nice 5. You don't mind picking him at 5. It's great. It's nice and solid. You feel fairly warm and cosy inside because the potential is he could meet the challenge of 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving. It's possible. He is that capable, and then the touchdown numbers, we know how prolific they can be with him, and he was terribly, woefully underused last year in a very, what a load of rubbish they did. They talk about make a star, turn him into. The poor bloke was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. To say, at times I felt for him, but he showed his toughness. He showed that he was back from that wrist injury, and he still kept going even when the chips were down and the team was terrible. I felt he was a leader. When everybody else's heads had dropped, he was the only player. He felt really passionate when I watched him on the side. But he was up for it. He wasn't argumentative. He wasn't nasty.
Yeah, he's not.
But he was like, "Let's go. We can do this. We may be too. We can carry this. Give me the rock. Give it to me." And they just weren't giving it to him. It was like, "I can carry it for you. Just put it on my back," kind of thing. And I was thinking, this is ridiculous. The poor bloke. In any other team, you'd just give it to him. But thankfully, new offense, everything's changing. Can only bode well.
When you're the worst team in the league, things have to change.
And I have nothing but the highest respect for him, and he's capable of anything. Can he logically, realistically, could he end up the number 1 running back in fantasy football for next year? It's possible. So you can't ever say, when you've got a player that is possible for, he's a number 1. So he's a number 1 round talent. You cannot pass him by. If he comes to you, you'd take him because he's a running back. He's a 3-down back. He can do everything. And with a rookie's going to look to him a lot, and he could make any number of catches. That guy, he could go from what he did last year, which wasn't as good, to anywhere near 80, 85 catches. He's more than capable of adding 1,000 rushing yards, and sky's the limit. PPR, it's unbelievable what he could do. So very excited for him.
Pretty big thumbs up from Sean, but at the right price.
Price.
That's always important in fantasy.
Yeah, don't overpay.
Get the right price. And if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoyed the series, please subscribe.
And we're closing in on 50 player profile videos, so if you've got a suggestion for the 50th, we may well take that on board, and if not, then we'll pick one special one out for that particular reason.
Okay, thanks very much for watching.